Hello.
Hi. Well, are we going to continue or we'll see you
Well, I
tomorrow?
can hear you and you can hear me,
I can hear you. Yeah,
but
yeah.
we can't hear Mark. Mark, you've been muted. You're still muted. You can't hear you. But I have interesting news that pertains to Sasha a little bit. The
Okay.
Rolling Stones have a new song and they're young again. They're in their 20s. They took 60 years off their age using AI, and it's a good song. It's a decent video. And they're using technology that you're a proponent of. I'm sure that there are some NVIDIA chips in there somewhere.
Probably. Yeah.
Probably some NVIDIA chips. Can y'all hear me now?
Now we can.
Okay, I just had to do some adjustments. Gotta love technology and all along those lines. Well, I'll just repeat some of what I said, and then y'all can jump in the other stories. But apparently, Trump and Xi's body language at the summit mirrored their styles, is what the New York Times was reporting, and they are saying that China will work behind the scenes to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz, according to Scott Bessent, And Trump says Xi offered to help broker an
wait,
Iran deal. Some
according
people
to
are
who?
wondering if this is actually going to happen. But Xi also warned Trump that mishandling Taiwan could spark conflict. So he's saying,
Wait,
don't
who's
touch
saying
Taiwan.
that? You said Scott somebody? Is
Scott
that
Bessent.
Oh, well, that guy's full of shit most of the time. So we'll see. That remains to be seen. This is day 11 of gas being national average being over 450 a gallon. And Trump has been known throughout this war to say something going good, going well, right before the stock market opens. The stock market goes up for a while. So we'll see if this is legit or if it's more BS. Sasha?
So far, I'm following his trip to China. I haven't seen or heard any positive news for Trump or United States. Nothing. Zilch. They're not discussing serious issue. Trump is talking about Chinese restaurants in the United States. I just don't understand how the country can afford to have such a miserable old idiot as a president, and all these people that went with him, all these Dave Rubio and all that it's a pathetic, absolutely people who are scared of Trump to the death, and therefore they're becoming even more pathetic than he is, and it's very difficult even to understand how pathetic Trump looks and sounds, and this is a horrible decline of United States having such a moron representing the country. He is coming all the world all over to talk about, look at Chinese restaurants. What else?
I have an idea. The Rolling Stones used AI to take 60 years off their age. We could use AI to make Trump young. Trump will be 80 in 1 month and 2 days.
Okay.
We could make him 25 again, and we could maybe make him smart. We could maybe an AI Trump might not say such.
But he's been using AI. That's actually what he's doing. Most of his late night memes is using AI. Whether it's him putting the Democratic leaders in a sewage lake and all along those lines, but he's been using AI, and I don't think it's helped him and everything like that.
There was just an article came out yesterday. There's a young woman who stays up at night with him, who helps him with she finds the images to retweet, to repost, and she facilitates the tweet storms that go on from 10 p.m. you said to 2 a.m. on some nights.
Something like that. Yeah, no, last night they said I think it was 10 until 2 a.m. and everything like that. Hey Sasha, I think I asked you this before, but with Cuba having its own crisis, and that's what I was trying to say earlier when I was muted and everything like that, but they're saying that their oil and diesel supplies have run dry under U.S. sanctions, and their power grid has collapsed. As a matter of fact, they're saying that they have absolutely no fuel and everything like that, and their protests flaring across that island nation and everything like that. So is there a possibility that he might actually invade Cuba? We did have the Cuban Missile Crisis way back in the 60s, and that he might try to make that the 51st state. So it does sound like they may be ripe for takeover. So what is your thoughts around this as somebody that's been in the military?
Yeah, that's a possible scenario. There is a blockade of Cuba, which used to have its oil from Venezuela, and it's no longer a possibility. So I'm pretty sure that they're suffering immensely. I'm pretty sure that I'm not sure that the U.S. necessarily have to invade Cuba, because there's such a humanitarian crisis that I don't understand what's the reason to invade. You can help Cuba, but to invade, I don't understand that.
Yeah, so that makes sense. But Trump saying, the 51st state, any of that talk is ridiculous garbage, because there's a whole process that has to happen to make the state, the people who live there have to vote on it. I'm sure Congress has to vote. You can't just wave your old ass presidential arm and make something a state.
Yeah, you can't do that. I did see, and this is another area that you pay attention to, and that's one of the other stories I was trying to get to, Sasha, that Israel is saying it's going to sue the New York Times. I know that Trump has had sued the New York Times as well, but they're going to sue them over an article on sexual abuse of Palestinian prisoners. So that is what they are saying. Netanyahu said that he's going to sue the New York Times. So is this going to be a valid suit, and will he win this suit? Because it sounds to me that part of it may be libelous, and it might be something that they don't have proof of and everything like that. But
yeah, the New York Times. I worked in quiz shows for many years. I also sued a quiz show, and quiz shows have fact checkers, and they won't let a question and answer go out unless they come up with at least two sources that confirm that the answer to the question is correct. They can still screw up. But the New York Times is not going to publish an article that they know they would get sued for if it would contain false information unless they had multiple sources. That's just the way real journalism works. So you can sue anybody for anything, but can they win the lawsuit? Not, odds are 10,000 to 1 because they have sources.
That makes sense. Hey, Sasha, just really quickly, another part of the world that's in trouble is London. And I know that Rick has a daughter that's over there in London, but apparently Keir Starmer has got a serious challenger. One of the people from his Senate resigned and is looking to be a challenger, this West Streeting guy. So are we expecting to see a lot of turmoil in London as well in terms of their leadership?
I'm not sure if it's the turmoil. It's a natural situation when somebody is losing power, elections, a new leader is being elected. I don't see it as a turmoil. I think it's
England they have a system in place when people get sick of the PM, they can replace them without too much turmoil. Absolutely. The U.S. could use a system like that. We will never get it because we've set up our constitution differently. But the Britain's transitioned frequently. One PM famously lasted less time than a head of cabbage or a head of lettuce. They knew she was in trouble, so one of the newspapers, I think, over there put a camera on lettuce to say which is going to last longer, this lettuce or what's her face? And she was out before the lettuce went bad.
Wow, that's amazing. It looks like Latvia, and I know that's a small country in Eastern Europe, their prime minister, and this just came down recently and everything, resigned in fallout over the stray Ukrainian drone. So the Latvian government apparently has collapsed amid dispute over breaches by Ukrainian drones. So Latvian Prime Minister Iveka Zelenia is no longer in charge. So I guess they'll have to find
what happened. A Ukrainian drone made it all the way to Latvia, and that got somebody in trouble?
Yeah, apparently.
That's far.
No. Latvia is not too far from Ukraine. In fact, they are liquidating a lot of oil refineries in Russia, which are 5 times as far as Latvia from Ukraine. They're now reaching Siberian oil refineries far out, 2,000, 3,000 kilometers out from Ukraine. Latvia, probably less than 1,000 kilometers. But I don't understand. I never thought that Ukraine would try to defeat Latvian targets. That's something new to me, and I don't understand that.
Oh, it is. I just looked at, I'm like every frickin' American. I don't know what the map of Eastern Europe looks like. And yeah, pretty close. And I should know better because my grandpa was from Latvia. So.
Yeah, but what Ukrainians drones were doing in Latvia, that's what I don't understand.
I'm going to pull up the article and see. They said.
Like what? I don't.
It says that she resigned after. Go ahead. Yeah, but they're saying that she resigned after suspected Ukrainian drones headed for Russia crossed into her country. So I guess in order to get to Russia, you have to go through Latvia, and maybe she didn't give them clearance. That would be my guess. and everything like that, because the drones were actually heading to Russia.
Could be.
Oh.
Could be.
All right, so let's see. I'm pulling up the map again. Let's see. So, I mean, you wouldn't have to, it's more direct to go from Ukraine straight into Russia, but maybe maybe they sent drones up to Latvia. They'd have to cross Belarus, which
Yes.
but anyway, maybe Belarus didn't catch them. They send them up to Latvia. Then they make a right turn and they come into Russia from a different direction. Maybe they think Russia isn't tracking drones coming from the west instead of from the south. I don't know.
The exact article in The Guardian says that the Latvia's center-right prime minister resigned over her government's handling of the Ukrainian drones that strayed into Latvian territory from Russia, bringing down her coalition government months before their election was due in October. So there was an election ready to come up and everything like that. So apparently her resignation was caused by a political disagreement between the prime minister and the progressive parties, her left-leaning coalition partner, which withdrew its support over her decision to fire the defensive minister, Andres Sprudz, over the drone incident. So apparently these drones are making a lot of...
I'm going to be an asshole for a second. I'm going to say that this PM who had to resign, she's very pretty. And, I miss the time in American politics when we were run by like attractive politicians. The last attractive politician was freaking Obama, and we could have had Harris, who's pretty good looking, but no. We've had, we have to have a melting guy who's going to be 80 next month.
80 and melting. That's an interesting conversation and everything like that. So he's 80 and melting.
Yeah, you've seen his pictures going down from his airplane, going down and holding for this railway. And he hardly could walk away. I don't know why they couldn't bring an escalator for him or something.
Well, it's those stairs screw up everybody. Everybody since Gerald Ford has had trouble with those stairs coming off a plane or coming off a helicopter. I don't understand why they can't build a special set of presidential stairs that are less steep. When my mom got this age, I built her stairs that weren't as steep, and so if I can do it, they can build a freaking.
They can build stairs. They can build lifts. I mean, my mother, because of my aunt who passed away of MS, she has a lift on her house, and that lift is now being used by other relatives that have.
Useful for wheelchair, so he could get into wheelchair, and the lift would bring him down. That's normal procedure. And I think probably his next flight, I think he will use some kind of a wheelchair.
He wants to spend $1 billion for a ballroom. You could build a better staircase coming off that airplane for, I don't know, $8,000 at the most.
Hey, that makes sense. Speaking of, since it is world politics, but we do talk U.S. politics as well. Hey, Jacoby, it looks like the Democrats are saying crush their souls because they're ditching their niceties after the GOP gained the upper hand in the redistricting. We talked about that earlier and everything. So Hakeem Jeffries is saying he wants to redraw House maps from Oregon to New York, and he's willing to even take on the Democrats to do it and everything like that. So what is our thoughts about Jeffries vowing massive response, vowing the redistrict setback in Virginia and other places? Because I think the Republicans have gained like 8 seats in this whole redistricting mess and everything like that. So are we going to have to now crush their souls?
Yeah, I mean, you got to fight fire with fire.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking up how many seats.
I know they've gained some. Yeah, tell me how many they've gained and everything like that.
Because, I mean, the Dems have done it too.
Yeah, both have done it, but last time I checked, it was the Republicans had gained the most. I think it was like 8 seats, and it could have been, and that's with the Virginia flip of the decision in Virginia, everything like that.
So Reuters says they could gain up to a dozen seats.
I'd heard something like that. Right.
So, but Trump will go into the midterms being the second most unpopular president since approval polling began with Harry Truman. So Harry Truman had the lowest approval numbers because it was 1946. We were coming off of World War II. There was tremendous inflation, and people were pissed, and they took it out on the president and his party, and they lost 40, 50 seats.
Well, speaking of people being pissed and everything like that, there is a small area of the world, the Philippines, where the ICC, the International Criminal Court, has actually got a warrant for him and one of the senators, and he's now wanted, and they're out on looking for him and all along those lines. And apparently he disappeared from the Senate, and there's chaos as he is facing arrest of this Duterte ally and other things like that. So if there's all these things that are plainly there that is being illegal that President Trump is doing, why won't the International Criminal Court go after him and Netanyahu and a couple of others that probably need to be arrested, including Putin as well? So they can go after some of these smaller countries.
They can't come. We went into, Trump didn't like the Venezuelan president. He sent people in to kidnap the guy.
Right.
We've done that before with Panama's guy, 30 years ago?
Yeah.
But the International Criminal Courts, kidnapping teams, we've never acknowledged any kind of sovereignty from the UN or any kind of international court.
Yep.
I mean, maybe like for law of the sea, we may have agreed to go along with some fishing regulations, but never when it comes to war crimes or anything like that.
Yeah, but apparently this is an interesting story. A jury has ordered Boeing to pay $49.5 million to the family of the 737 MAX crash victim. So this was from Ethiopia and everything like that. So they are going to have to pay a whole lot of money, and of course there'll be legal fallout for that. And I'm sure that Trump will say something stupid about Ethiopians in this particular case as well. But I'm sure he'll come up with something insane to say, because he's already upset at one of the athletes that didn't want to come and visit him in the White House and everything like that. So he's already upset. And that was one of the tweets, by the way, in the late night where he was upset at Fernando. I can't think of Fernando's last name.
All right, here's another article that says that puts Republican gains in the high single digits, 7 to 9 seats, which won't be enough to keep the House, because they're going to lose. On top of the seats they gain, they're going to lose 30 to 40, probably low 30s, because people are pissed at terrible Republican governance, and they can only afford to lose 2 seats. So they will for sure, the betting markets are giving Dems still a 3/4 to 85% chance of taking the House. And I think they're underestimating it. And it could be a landslide for the Dems, because if they take a bunch of Republican seats and add Democrats to those seats to dilute Democrats, to get rid of Democratic districts, if they take a district that is R+10 and they take a chunk of Dems and turn it into an R+7 district to get rid of a Democratic district, people could be pissed enough to overcome a +7 or a +10. So it still doesn't look good for the Republicans.
No, it doesn't look good for the Republicans, but we'll see how that all plays out. By the way, it was Fernando Mendoza who was the number 1 pick that he was upset, but apparently he had some good family reasons to not come. But yeah, he said he wasn't happy that he was not coming to visit him at the White House and all along those lines. So that's who it was. And I think he was picked by the Raiders and everything in that realm. I saw an article, you mentioned it earlier about Venezuela, and there was all this conversation about how Venezuelans were happy that their past leader had been basically kidnapped, as y'all have been saying, and all along those lines. But I have not heard any reactions from the Venezuelans since. So has anybody that's following news heard the Venezuelans? Are they still happy? Are they happy with Delcy? Do they want President Trump to take over? What's going on with the reaction of Venezuela that people are.
I will type it in and
See what the current reaction is, not the reaction immediately after, but the current reaction.
Venezuelans are very weak people.
So-
Most of them, their dreams are to escape somewhere to Argentina or some other Spanish language countries and work there on the lowest paid jobs. And that's about all what it's about. And I don't think that Venezuela will do very well, in spite of its supposedly oil riches and so on. Nothing will happen there.
it's bad.
So
They are not happy. While Venezuelans initially felt relief and gratitude, public satisfaction has shifted to widespread discontent. Recent polls show that roughly 95% of the population rejects current economic, service, and interim government conditions. So, no, things are still screwed up over there.
I did see a whole. They ran a whole news article about them. Yes, they're happy that Maduro's gone, but they're very, very upset about what's going on because, as we've talked about here, nothing has changed. All you did was take Maduro away, but you still have the same thing going on. You still have the same regime in power. You still have the same political prisoners. You still have the same crackdowns. Nothing has changed except for the fact that you've taken away Maduro. And even more so in Venezuela right now, the current leader is putting up images of Maduro and her together. So it's, again, nothing has changed. People are ticked off. People do not want to be the 51st state that Trump keeps trying to do now, which won't do anything because, again, you've got to be able to send money down there if you're going to make it a state. And they're not going to send money to the 51st state. They don't even send money to Puerto Rico. So how does Venezuela supposed to make out and end its poverty? I mean, all you're going to do. So really, yes, they're upset. They don't want to be. They want to be their own sovereign nation, but nothing has changed. Nothing.
They are making a 77% more money from oil, which is like an increase in 9-10 billion. But of course, none of that money reaches the people.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the point. I mean, they can make $2 more in oil. The people aren't receiving it. They're still impoverished. And what's even worse is that you have other entities now coming in that are filling the void that we have created. So, for example, I think China's trying to help out with solar or power or something. Mm-hmm. There are a couple of entities that are trying to come in and help out. That's who's filling the void. I mean, heck, you still got the embargo in Cuba that's going on that's starving people to death.
Somebody asked an interesting question.
So I asked, because I'm a pervert, I asked, are Venezuelans having more sex? Because sex is free. Like, are they drowning their sorrows in sex? And AI says, nope, there is no statistical evidence that suggests they're having. And in fact, a severe economic crisis and hyperinflation have actually disrupted intimate relationships, leading to a major drop in birth rates.
So
and a spike in the reliance on prostitution for survival. So even in these perilous times, they're not finding happiness through banging.
So the question at the end that the person had asked, can you impeach fascism? Sadly, no. It would be great if you could. The problem is fascism has crept in and is now instilled within what's going on right now, because we have a leader who has those tendencies, who is an authoritarian, wants to be an authoritarian. He loves strong men. That's his big thing. Who are the strong men that he points to? Viktor Orban, Kim Jong-un, Xi, Putin, all these individuals. So that is what's taking place right now. And that's why we are in this position, is because right now, MAGA thinks Trump is America. That's what Trump has done. He's trained his people to believe that if you disagree with him, you're disagreeing with America. He's made his name synonymous to them. So they're blindly following him. They will never, ever, ever for the life of them say anything bad about Trump.
No, they'll go to their graves. We found that out after World War II, that
And
you could send 1 million troops to occupy Germany, and you could get the Nazis to shut up and make it illegal. But there were a bunch of old people who went to their graves secretly thinking Hitler was a great guy.
And that's what's happening right now. I mean, right before our faces, that's what's going on. I mean, ICE literally killed people, and MAGA defended and turned a blind eye to it. You literally have Trump selling you a phone.
11 months ago.
And the worst part is he wasn't going to send you a phone until people started getting outraged or poking fun at it. And now he's not even sending you the phone that you bought. He's sending you
he changed the terms of the contract. Okay, so back in June, 11 months ago, 600,000 people each sent Trump a $100 deposit. So Trump is sitting on $59 million to get delivery of this phone for $500, so they'd have to pay another $400. Meanwhile, no phone. It's almost a year later, no phone.
No phone.
Yep.
And
now they're supposedly sending the phones. Did you see? It's a completely different phone. And people are trying to hunt it down to figure out exactly what the phone is. And some have pointed to a Temu phone because that's what it looks like. And that's what he probably did. Bought a phone for $30, either at $30 to $100 on Amazon, charged people $500, and then charged them another $500 on top of that.
At least
he's a con artist.
Plated. Wait, did he? Because the Trump phone was supposed to be gold plated. Is this Temu phone? Did they at least spray paint it gold for the people?
I mean, you got to spray paint. I can go down to Lowe's and pick up a can and spray paint. That's what he probably did.
Well, I hope so. That it would suck to spend $500 on a crappy phone and not even get a gold phone.
How you get the gold phone and everything. Hey, we've talked on this show a couple of times about the Chinese influence in the world and how they are definitely influencing African, Asian countries and all along those lines.
I got to switch to the phone. I'll be back.
Yeah, there was a time that there was colonial powers like France, and where your daughter is England, and a number of other ones that were European based, including, like I said, France was one of them. But there, Macron is turning to English speaking Africa because I think he wants to kind of pick up some of the Chinese weight and become an influencer in the African nation. So is this going to happen, or has China got too much of a lot on Africa? Because they're asking, can Macron's Kenya visit revive French's influence in Africa? So is France going to be able to get some of that power?
Africa is freaking huge with what, 50 some nations. There's room for everybody to pile into Africa with investment and try to get influence. As I keep saying, after 2050, Africa will be the only continent with a growing population. You know, Africa is the future. You know, you've got countries that are powerful right now, like Nigeria. You've got countries that are basket cases. But as Africa gets, Africa will get more populous, more powerful. You know, they're already used extensively for AI because AI requires spending tens of billions of dollars to pay people to turn information into a form that AI can learn from. And we go to Africa for that because you can pay Africans 50 cents $1 an hour to do the coding. So yeah, Africa is a big deal, but it's big enough. There's room for China and other countries. Sasha?
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a big fan of Africa. I was there once in my lifetime, and it's more than enough. It's definitely not a destination that I would consider to go anytime soon.
But maybe in 2060.
2060, yeah, maybe 2090, maybe more likely.
I mean, like we just said, Sasha, Africa is a vast country. You went to, 2 or 3 nations and everything like that. So it's like there are 54 countries. One of those countries may be appealing to you and everything like that. I've got friends that have gone to Ghana. I've got friends that have gone to Nigeria. I've got friends that are actually from Kenya and everything like that. So some of those countries that you may not have visited may not be as bad as the ones that you visited. I imagine it's just like Europe and any other part of the world. There are good parts of the continent and bad parts of the continent. So I imagine it depends on where you went to and the reason you were there. So there might be, of those 54, there might be a nation that actually you would find appealing and everything like
I'll
that.
give you one destination before I leave. One destination where I would go anytime and spend there as much time as possible. It's Italy, Sorrento, Excelsior Hotel, right on the top. And you see there, and you can see it on the terrace, have a cappuccino. And one way you see Capri, and another way you see Naples. And there's nothing better in the world than this.
Yeah, Italy is freaking great. I agree with Sasha. I've been there a couple times just for a few days. I keep trying to get my wife to go back. It's beautiful. They've got like the history, like it feels great to be there. The food is obviously awesome and not expensive. There are these little towns in Italy where the young people left, and now it's some old people and and people are, and you can buy a beaten up house for €100 as long as you promise to fix it up. And that seems, I'm probably too old to do that, but if I were younger, I would definitely be hammering my wife to let's do it. It's just a beautiful frickin' country. Also, the distances are small. You can go from one great city to another in like an hour and a half by train.
True.
Yeah, that makes sense and everything. But to your point, because I've had friends, including some on this show, that have visited Morocco. They said great things about Morocco. But I just looked up on Investopedia, and they said 4 African countries that offer comfortable and affordable retirement options and everything like that. So then, and kind of figure Kenya would be among the countries, but Kenya is one of them. As is, let's see who else is in here: South Africa, Kenya, and Ghana, as well as is a 4th country, Mauritius. So those are 4 countries that they say folks can get a real good retirement destination, and they probably even have some good money in all along those lines. And there's a whole article on Investopedia that breaks down what you
give Morocco. I just asked AI.
If you ever visited,
AI says Morocco's pretty nice, though there's culture shock. But also Morocco is just across the what is it from across the Mediterranean? It's like a half-hour flight to Europe if you need a break from Morocco. So yeah.
Exactly. And I do not know this professor that they're asking about. I don't even know who they are and everything like that. So they're a real person. I can find out about them, and maybe I'll have them on the show or the network and everything like that. But I do not know this Jing Yoken, or however they pronounce it, and everything like that. But so the person was asking that, and I'm actually looking them up to see if they are a legitimate person, because we do know that we have what do you call them? Folks that like to raid and ask stupid questions. So we'll find out if they are legitimate and all along those lines. But yeah,
if you want to check out Morocco and some of these other places, there's a very inexpensive cruise line. I think it's MCS. Is that it?
Yes. Yeah.
They offer like super cheap trips across the south of Europe. Italy to France to Spain to Morocco for really cheap, as much as staying in a regular hotel. You can be in a moving hotel. And I keep trying to get my wife to go on one of these MCS cruises. And so if you want just a taste of that, of Morocco and Spain, then that might be the way to go.
It's not the best cruise line, but as the price is concerned, I think it's a very good option.
Yeah, for $200, for $150 a night for a couple, for a week, the whole trip, airfare included, you might be able to get it for $1,500.
And it's basically a room and board situation where you don't have to pay for your meals.
Right.
So,
And if you want a relaxing cruise, maybe not the best because it's a bunch of families with screaming kids. But to get like a European vacation for a week for $1,500, I don't mind the screaming kids.
Yeah.
Take the screaming kid and everything like that. I had a question. What was it? Oh, how concerned are you? And y'all know you'll be talking about it tomorrow, but Sasha, I know you said you gotta get ready to leave, and we do have the Coco show coming up shortly anyway. But how concerned are you about this graph scandal and Zelensky? Because I have keep seeing this pop up on my news feeds, and there's apparently one of the top aides that was just arrested as the probe is widening. So is this going to hurt the war efforts, and how would this impact the war efforts? Because they're even saying that this advisor, Yermak, was just jailed on a $3 million bail and everything like that. So how concerned are you as a proponent and supporter of Ukraine about this graph scandal?
I was always suspicious about Yermak. I always thought that he's a crook. And it's about time maybe to take a close look at all his actions and all his deeds. And I think, yeah, probably it's a good time to take a look at all that.
So the deal with Ukraine, and Sasha can correct me if I'm wrong, is Ukraine became independent with the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, just 35 years ago.
Yep.
And under the Soviet Union, there was nothing but corruption.
Absolutely.
So there's been a 35-year effort to get Ukraine standing on its own with less corruption, so it can become, a citizen of the world. There's been a push to get out the old corrupt Soviet bureaucrats.
But all that really started in after 2014, once Crimea was annexed by Russia, because before that, Ukrainians lived very similar way as Russia. There was very little difference between both countries, the way how they approach business and everyday life and so on. It was all old Soviet corruption model, and only after Russia attacked and just grabbed Crimea and some other areas in Donbass, then Ukrainian nation started completely reshaped and be different from Russians in a big, very meaningful way.
Yeah, but Ukraine's made strides. Like Biden got involved in it, and like the Republicans tried to paint Biden as part of the corruption because, which is all bullshit. He made a speech saying that prosecutor Shokin has to go, this corrupt prosecutor. So they make, and plus war helps squeeze out some of the corruption, but there are always going to be war profiteers. The U.S. during World War II and probably every subsequent war has had people who've tried to profit off of war.
But what's doing Trump in Venezuela? It's 100% profiteering actions where he removed Maduro to have access to Venezuelan oil. Isn't it the case?
Right, yeah. Trump has stolen tankers full of oil from Venezuela. He sent them to his friend. He drove the tankers around the world and deposited them with his friend, an oil dealer, and the oil dealer, took a commission of I don't know, 2, 3, 5% on a cargo worth $250 million. So yeah.
And that's what he wanted to do in Iran, but it didn't work well for him because Iranians are completely different people from Venezuelans.
Yeah, they're different people and everything like that.
Iranians are organized, which is bad for the Iranian people, that the ruling regime is pretty freaking organized, makes them hard to tip them over.
Yeah, that just makes them hard to tip over, and that's very true and everything like that. By the way, the Pope is at the war makers and everything like that. So apparently earlier today, he decried the rise of AI-directed warfare, saying that it leads to a spiral of annihilation and everything like that. And apparently he was speaking at Rome's Sabanci University and asking them to be artisans of true peace. So he warned students against the great lie fueling youth anxiety. So he's decrying the European military spending as a betrayal of diplomacy. I'm sure this is going to go over real well with his good buddy Trump. And yes, I am being
Well,
sarcastic.
this Pope seems to be like very connected to the world. He cheers for the Cubs. He's from Chicago. He's got two brothers. One of them is MAGA. One of them isn't. He plays Wordle with them every most days. It's like the Trump. It's nice to have a Pope who knows what's going on, and who. It's nice to have a Pope from Chicago who can speak to us in his native language.
Right. You can definitely relate to modern culture and everything like that. You mentioned in Venezuela earlier. Apparently, they have embarked on a $150 billion restructuring of their debt amid the political turmoil. So they're hoping that their central bank chief is saying that they're hoping this debt restructuring will bring the country out of the shadows. So they are kickstarting a $170 billion debt restructuring process. So we'll see where this goes and whether they.
Yeah, I found an article from 2018 saying that condoms under hyperinflation could cost a week's wages. So even though sex is free, not getting pregnant might be beyond people's budget in Venezuela.
I think it will lead to proliferation of oral sex instead of.
Yeah, we had a Surgeon General under Bill Clinton who got fired for telling teens don't have regular sex, just do hand stuff, and that got her in trouble, even though it's a very reasonable thing.
Absolutely.
It sounds very reasonable and everything like that, but we'll see what goes on in that space. I know I'll see you gentlemen tomorrow on the new show, and that Coco will be here. By the way, while I'm thinking about it, Rick, have you gotten together with your people, and do you know when you're going to do it?
Yeah, I'm going to send out an email. We'll see about doing one on Wednesday next week.
Okay, yeah, because I know that your model is better for Wednesdays, and I can't do Wednesday, but yeah, Wednesday next week could work. So just let me know what she says.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, Joel. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.